It gives me great pleasure to introduce Estonia's Finance Minister, Keit Pentus-Rosimannus. Keit, if you'd like to come up.
Thank you. And first, warm greetings to everyone who has joined us via live streaming. But I must say that it is a true joy to open finally such an event in person and to see you all here after quite some years, long years that honestly feel definitely more than 2 years. So dear colleagues, guests, you know Estonia hopefully as a truly innovative country, as a digital leader, as well also as an excellent place or location and source for doing business. The country is about 1.3 million and we are literally proving every day that when it comes to the leap on technological innovation, the size really does not matter. We have a very active startup sector that make use of blockchain technology in different ways. I'm sure that during the event you will learn more about it. That means from credit services to big data and crypto services to digital management. Most innovative IT-based startups have utilized digital assets and some sort of blockchain technology in their business. I am also always very proud and pleased to say that quite a few of technology-enabled innovative companies have either hailed from Estonia or chosen Estonia as their home country. And there is around 215 fintech companies that have been established in Estonia, or they have some direct connection with Estonia. 215 is, I must say, a rather impressive number by itself, and more so when taking into account our smallish area and population. Again, showing that Estonia is seen as a fertile ground where innovative ideas can really grow and prosper. I guess for you, as you are, many of you, most of you are representing also government, different governments. Probably one of the main question is why so, or how, what have been the reasons behind our story, our experiences. And of course, there are multiple decisions and reasons behind it. When we started to develop our digital society, we really were lucky to have a very digital-minded and determined leadership. At the time, I would say that this was really a crucial thing. We introduced our secure e-identity, the digital national digital identity system, and we also took the decision that pretty much all public services government offers in analog world, that is on paper. All those services must also be available digitally. Up until recently, there were only 3 exemptions. First, if you wanted to sell a property or buy a property, you really had to turn in person. If you wanted to get married, you better be there in person. And in case you needed to get a divorce, also you had to appear there in person. So there were only very few exemptions where you couldn't only settle with the digital signature. But our e-identity system enables remote identity verification and signing documents also digitally, which means that it greatly reduces the administrative burden, also time and effort, of course. Most notable examples, of course, are the e-tax filing, e-voting, e-schools that turned out to be immensely important during the pandemic, and also accessing most medical services infrastructure via our respective e-portal. When designing the digital services, our main goal was really to focus and to create citizen and customer-focused solutions. Take tax declarations, for example. What you really need is your digital identity, either your ID cards or mobile ID. A mobile or a computer with the internet connection, and it takes you 3 minutes to file the taxes. We know that if it takes you already 5 minutes, then there must be some sort of problem. So it's extremely convenient. Or another example is, of course, the e-prescriptions. Again, it is extremely accessible and user-friendly, and what you need is simply your ID cards, and you can go any pharmacy in the country, and you don't have to have any paper prescription with you. You can get your medicine in any end of the country. Again, as it is user-friendly, it took less than a year for us when 99% of the prescriptions were already used digitally. And the same goes with the tax declaration. As it is so convenient, rarely anybody does it anymore on paper. So why I'm explaining all this is that our approach has been or can be characterized as really pragmatic, resilient, and entrepreneurial. And that has provided us opportunities to be an almost paperless society already for decades. For example, also in banking and payment service sector, we have entirely skipped the phase of using checks as a means of payment. Nobody knows here what would it mean to use a checkbook. So as said, there have been many reasons that has helped us on our way, but today I really want to bring out three for you. First, building and maintaining the trust. The government sector and private sector really need each other to build a successful digital society, and that will only work if there is a mutual trust. Transparency is a must. Second thing, the regulators. The regulators must be willing and ready to understand also the novel business models. And legal requirements really need to be understandable and graspable for the general population, for the users. And they also must be simple for government authorities and private sector companies to enact and follow. Again, our experience says that this only works if there is a smooth cooperation. We are currently developing our really first fintech strategy, and we are doing it while working together with different stakeholders from the public and private sector, leveraging our own strong IT sector and friendly business environment to really overcome any possible obstacles that prevent Estonian businesses really to be scalable and successful here and also abroad, of course. And the third lesson from our experiences I wanted to bring out today is simply never settle with what you have. The digital society will never be ready. new risks emerge also daily. The developments are super quick in the tech world. The fintech sector is moving rapidly. If any government wants to keep the pace, one really needs to dedicate to it every single year. It is really not a project that you can finalize one day on 1 year. It's a never-ending process, and there always will be plenty of room for improvements. Also, Estonia is by no means somehow immune to threats and major security risks. As much as the task of the government is to encourage innovation, we also must limit the downside risk. Serious cyber attacks, mainly starting now 15 years ago, made us really push the digital initiatives and cybersecurity further and harder. So we have really learned that in practice, that what doesn't kill you makes you only stronger. And if to be a bit more specific with cybersecurity and fintech, we in Estonia, we have utilized decentralized distributed systems since 2001 and blockchain since 2008. And as mentioned before, the blockchain technology really is used by several fintechs in Estonia. One of the best examples probably is called KSI, the keyless signature infrastructure blockchain, and that is provided by a company named Guardtime. KSI is designed to protect networks, servers, and databases in Estonia from attacks, detect and deliberate or unintentional data changes, and ensure data integrity at rest. So if you are interested in that, I certainly recommend you to dig more deeply into the solutions the Guardtime offers. Fintech companies are very often associated with crypto assets in various forms. And indeed, many governments around the world are now focusing on this area. This is also the case in Estonia and more broadly in European Union as a whole. Because alongside the optimism and success, there are real and legitimate concerns. Anonymous cryptocurrency payments feeding into an explosion of ransomware and risk for potential money laundering. Some decentralized finance applications may look like Ponzi schemes and are aggressively offered to retail investors. Therefore, if we want to continue, and we do want to continue enjoying the charms of the digital society, the response to managing the risks is equally important and essential as well. And again, not only or mainly at the level of individual countries only, but in the entire Europe and even globally. In this regard, we also held the International AML conference in the middle of April here in Tallinn, and I also told there to the public that we have been looking at various new ideas of the so-called RegTech industry. The solutions that might have been intended to reduce the time and costs of compliance might also have positive impact to the speed of decision-making within the companies themselves. The flexibility and ability to change and adapt has really never been as crucial as it is today, and might never been so important also for the financial sector as it is today. Or maybe another example, there have been several discussions at the global level how to imply the travel rule to crypto assets transactions. Basically, in the traditional financial sector, the travel rule requires financial institutions to share information about their customers and the associated transaction with each other. By doing so, they can monitor the transactions and report suspicious activities that may involve money laundering or terrorism financing. When the SWIFT system is in place for traditional service providers, then crypto assets service providers lack an industry-wide messaging standard. And this is something that will be discussed, I think, more seriously now every day. It is also said that the pseudonymous nature of cryptocurrencies and new business models like DeFis make it complicated to apply a globally agreed crypto travel rule in practice. But still, if to pick just one possible future development, I think we must get our chance here to really work together and come up with a common standard in this respect as well. It will be needed more and more, literally every day. The financial sector currently, I must say, is one of the most regulated business sector already. The essential purpose of financial services regulation has been to ensure financial stability and customer protection, but it also has an additional dimension in the European Union, the ambition to create a single European market, which will benefit both from the development of companies and the expansion of customer choice. Often, fintech companies offer their services to traditional financial companies to help them solve the challenges posed by regulations. And again, the good example is Know Your Customer requirement, which is an important element in the provision of all financial services. Based on the technological innovation, for example, Estonian company called Verif solves the question of how to identify new customers digitally, being convinced of their identity. The creation of a single market requires uniform regulations and supervision in all member states, and thus regulation is certainly one of the biggest challenges in development of fintech sector. How much room does the regulation in the financial sector leave for innovation, experimentation, and thus inevitably also for failures? I think, again, when designing the regulations, this is the crucial thing to keep in mind, that there must be room also for innovation and experimentation. To sum up, let me once more point out three main areas. First, one of the most critical bases that the country can provide to both the technology and financial sector is trust. And it is based on both the regulation and very close cooperation. Maintaining the trust requires constant devotion, research and development, as well as asking continuously and answering serious questions. We made several strategic choices at the state level already in the 1990s, on which much of today's success and the general mentality of Estonian society is based. But more important than the technical achievements, however, has been a great mutual trust between the state and the individuals, which really have made it possible to implement many innovative solutions in the field of e-government and cybersecurity, but also created the basis for the explosive growth of Estonian startup sector. Thus, our country's strategic focus has been on the technology sector and the development of the startup ecosystem more broadly. And the fintech sector has benefited from it greatly. Secondly, public-private partnership presuppose a mutual and sincere interest in the challenges facing both sides. What are the big problems the government wants to solve with the help of technology? What are the barriers that prevent the technology sector, including fintech companies, initiate and implement innovative ideas? The keys in here could be an effective sandbox or innovation hub, specialized incubator, and also cooperation with education and research institutes. The sandbox or hub could be a tool for risk-free development and testing of new services, and also it would allow the regulator to understand the solutions better, to understand and to see if and how the possible solutions work. For instance, as we have an open data directive in EU, the state is interested in creating new real-time service of Know Your Customer, which means that we can turn a new page in the fight against also money laundering. Most likely Estonia will be the first country to make machine-readable data in national registers and databases available for the KYC procedure, and will also provide them with a timestamp that provides the highest confirmation of the origin and compliance of the data. And finally, we are living in extraordinary but also extremely complicated times, and it is not excluded that even more difficult ones lie ahead. The war that Russia started in Ukraine has led the entire financial sector into a new reality, which follows the post-pandemic inflation. The financial institutions, including fintech companies, are reacting in real time to impose sanctions and boycotts on Russia and its citizens. I think the question that you might want to ask is, how can fintech help even more? Would it be possible to make financial services kind of bulletproof, taking into account the basis of conventional and hybrid war? Among other things, we should use it to learn and develop even better and to contribute to the protection of our values and the planet through the financial sector. Really, finally, there also are several allegations about cryptocurrency mining and energy waste. European Parliament is already thinking of banning even Bitcoin mining and similar proof of work type of mining of different cryptocurrencies. Would banning technology really be a right decision? Would it really work? Or instead, should we ask that maybe what should we do to turn this type of new gold to green? Maybe fintech startups can become leaders in the transition to sustainable energy sources as well. In this sense, Estonian deep tech startup Single.Earth is disrupting climate action by investing in the forests the world still has left, not making up for the ones that have already been destroyed. In a simple terms, Single.Earth offers landowners a new business model to earn money from living trees. Using the satellite imagery and data, Single.Earth looks at the nature in real time and sees how much of any area of the world absorbs CO2 and retains biodiversity, which is then tokenized for ecological value. So this is just one of the examples. I must say that I'm a person who believes in innovation. So I believe that with the new and responsible kind of technology, we really can make the world cleaner and a better place. And these may sound as big words, but I think let them simply add momentum to today's debate that will follow. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I wish you a really fruitful event and hope to see you in person again very soon. Thank you and all the best.